Hello, and welcome to this video on the new Mark II Mutes, an update to the first ever DivKid Eurorack module. Here's what's to come in the video. This video is sponsored by me. Go buy Mutes MK2. So hello again, I'm Ben, DivKid, and in February 2019 I teamed up with Befaco and released the first DivKid Eurorack module, Mutes. And it started a bit of a thing that's led to lots of wonderful, yes I'm biased, wonderful collaboration modules. Mutes has continued to sell well even years later, so we've made a soft update here with a new Mark II, which is what we have here today. Mutes Mark II is the same concept and exactly the same user interface, with the updates being in the circuitry. So we're not calling it a version 2, it's not a new concept, a redesign or an expansion in that sense, rather a Mark II just to note this softer update. Mutes Mark II is now based on Befaco's new VCA-based mute circuitry, with the same soft off and click free behaviour. We also have a couple of other advantages with the new VCA design, including lower levels of signal bleed and better signal integrity and accuracy from the inputs to the outputs, compared to the original. And finally, we've now added a new 1U format panel into the Mutes Mark II box for free. So buying a Mark II Mutes gets you the standard Eurorack module, but you also get a 1U panel and a Befaco banana nut tool included to quickly take off the nuts and mount this in a 1U space. It's a 24 HP 1U module when you mount the module sideways. Please note I actually have two mute modules here, one mounted normally and one in 1U. You just get the extra 1U panel in the box, you don't get two full modules. The 1U version does mount the inputs at the bottom and the outputs at the top, which might seem rather odd, but the way the switches are orientated, playing them and pulling them down for momentary action just feels oh so good. It just makes sense, and it's really lovely throwing dub effects and modulation around the system. The Mark II Mutes also comes in a new anodized aluminium style like other new Befaco modules. These panels are prototype units, you can see them on the image on screen. Mutes Mark II is out now and should be denoted as a Mark II version on the store product pages in your favourite stores. If it's not there or it's unclear, just ask them. Mutes Mark II is ready and out now. Did I tell you to go buy a Mutes? Already got an OG one? Get a Mark II one, and then maybe you'll need another for the spare 1U panel, and then you've got another spare panel, and I'm not really sure where it ends, but you can mute anything and add mutes to almost anything like a patchable performance expander. It works really well with lots of modules, so here's a few ways that I love to use it. Again, skip around, but let's dive in. So here we're using the 3U version for one of my favourite things with mutes, which is muting modulation performatively. If we pan across to the other camera, we're also using the 1U Mutes module here to control our mix. Channel 1 is Trinity, a kick and hi-hat. 2 is the Basimilus through Manic with some clipping and some sidechains with pumps around the kick. And I'm taking advantage of the input normalizing 2 down to 3, 3 to 4 to send that to a reverb, which if you follow the purple cables is the effects aid. Everything's mixed in the output bus here. And then the delay on 4 orange cables down to the echo cinematic and then into the stereo strip for some nice EQ and colour. So this is kind of also a kind of quote favourite thing with mutes, which is simply adding mutes to a mixer. The output bus doesn't have mutes per channel, but it does have lots of mixing and nice output stages. So it's nice to add that to any mixer you have that doesn't have a mute. But panning back across to the other camera, let's have a look at what's going on with the Besimilus here. No sidechain, but this is clipped in Manic still. The gate signal here handles the attack sound, which is really just that bit of noise on top of the sound. Blue trace, which is a step sequence, morphs through the waves. Channel 3, red cables, is the folder. Then the yellow one is a step sequence to decay. And you can performatively play around. Find these combinations of sounds that work really well. Let's get this sidechaining again, and the kick back in. A little effects throw, and then we'll play around with what modulation hits the Besimilus. So another thing that works really well with mutes is muting your trigger streams. And again, we're focusing on the FreeU Euro module here for the kind of focus of the patch, but we have some extras on the 1U version. Now these are my triggers for each of my 4 drum sounds. The yellow trace and cables is a quarter note hi-hat sample. Channel 3 is an 1/8 note hi-hat sample, with a little bonus here on the second channel on the 1U version, which is an LFO being sent to panning. Snare drum on 2. With a couple of bonus things here in that we have a fill, which I'll come to. And it's great just hammering those switches in momentary mode, especially on the 1U. We can also pitch it. Again, we'll come back to that. And channel 1, green trace, cables is a kick. We can kind of 16th note burst or fill that as well. And affect the tone of the kick too. So, all the sounds playing. Channel 2 here is the simplest on the 1U module. As I say, it's an LFO coming in, an LFO out. And that starts to pan my 1/8 notes hi-hats around, which are these ones on channel 3. And then going to the fills, input 3 is a 16th note clock, so just the whole clock playing that the sequence is playing at the same rate. And I can route that through 3 to also trigger the kick. And I'm taking advantage of the normalizing through the inputs, so this also normals to 4 without patching it. And that comes out and triggers the snare. And then input 1 by default is normalized to 10 volts. I'm taking a split of this, 1 copy, if we just listen to the snare, is attenuated and retunes the snare drum. And then the other copy, if we just listen to the kick, also sends this voltage out to modulate the harmonics. So I've got all the kind of playful fill-like things, and then the main triggers on the main module. Now here's a quick patch just to show that you can use mutes momentary or toggling behaviour like a manual gate or trigger or a latching gate. The first input here normalizes by default in the circuit to 10 volts, so we're switching on and off 10 volts here, making them perfect as manual triggers or gates. And the first output, the green trace here, triggers and pings a filter. The second channel is a modulation for my reverb, so the default voltage will go up when I turn this on. Like a latching gate for my reverb. It could be a manual or momentary gate though. If I just ping this, this will ping my filter, which feeds the reverb, and then I can kind of hammer on and off the reverb. You get the idea. And the third channel triggers another sound that always has its effects on. And the fourth channel in this case is an oscillator that's going to modulate the pinged filter. So just a really quick, simple example, but you have momentary triggers or manual gates, latching gates, you have those momentary or latching gates right there on the module to play around with sending voltages around your system. So let's just quickly explore the feel of Mutes MK2. I have a saw wave on input 4 here. There it is on the scope and coming through your headphones or speakers. And if I just kind of hammer away at the momentary, you can hear it's totally click free. And if you actually look at the curve of the sound here, there's a slight onset, an ever so slight rise time, and just a little bit more fall time. Bit of slew with the muting on and off there that keeps it click free and really musical. If I unfreeze the scope and we say go to a sine wave, where you'd really obviously hear the clicks if there were any, and I'm just going to play around moving the pitch and equally kind of hammer away at that momentary. And I think the BBC should employ me to make some clangers sounds there. You get the idea, it's totally click free. If I remove the waveform here, this will normal to 10 volts, and as I turn this on and off, you can see on the scope, and I'll just try and freeze a nice graphic here, you can see the ever so slight rise and the ever so slight fall, just bringing that 10 volts that normals to the inputs here up and down. And that just shows you that response that you're getting. Click free, feels great, works well, go wild hammering those momentaries, and have some fun with Mutes MK2. So this patch focuses on the one new module. It's just a really clear example of the multifunction and normalized input function, and using the switches like dub effects throws. I'm using this normal 3U Euro version for modulation. Let's turn those off. I have tides here playing a melody, and it comes into the first input here on the 1U mutes, and it's currently turned on, and that comes into the output bus where everything else is mixed. The second output, getting its input from the first channel there, feeds a delay, which is the echo cinematic, again mixing in the output bus. This coming down across through the third channel, big reverb from the effects aid, again mixed in the output bus. And the fourth output is a little more complex. It's kind of carved into with a little passive low pass gate from Takab here, the 2LPG, filtered in Akari, which has some FM modulation, giving us those bell-like tinkly bits on the top. And then Bib, lovely little spider here, giving some effects. And this works really well for dubby effects rolls with this 1U way round. Of course works with the normal one. But that just mechanism of pulling it towards yourself, such a lovely way of playing kind of effect sense. So we'll leave on the dry sound. I'll bring in my modulation again, which is a fast LFO to FM. Just giving some vibrato-y wobbles. And then a mixture of slope, smoothness and shape modulation from different LFOs or from Oct. So Mutes, super playable. Modulation, multing, be performative with splitting and routing your signals. And then when you want to just turn them all on and build up these layers, this lovely rich sound by just layering lots of effects in parallel rather than in series, keeping them much cleaner in the mix and giving them their own space to live rather than all the delays and reverbs feeding into each other. If you've got this far in the video, leave a comment letting me know what you'd like to mute the most, and you're welcome to say that you wish that I came with a mute or an off switch. Head over to patreon.com/DivKid to support what I do, gain access to exclusives, and to join the DivKid Discord community. And I'll see you next time. Bye!